יונתן פולארד. שלום וברכה.
Shalom, 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 doctor.
How are you?
I'm tired, but I'm happy.
Because you live in Eretz Israel.
Of course.
On our forefathers' land, which we came to after 2,000 years of exile. First of all, welcome. I didn't meet you personally until today. It is a good opportunity to be here in Arutz Tov, in the good channel, in order to start cooperation. First of all, personally, you work for the American administration, for the American intelligence for many years. How much Jewish, in brackets, did you feel then at that time as somebody who was a civil servant in the United States? What was the Jewish component of your being part of what you did over there? What this is in the middle or the center of your being, or some kind of a side dish?
אקטואליה יהודית עולה קומה עם טוב פלוס. הפלוס שלכם, עבורכם, בזכותכם. לדעת יותר את האמת כולה. בערוץ עצמאי, לאומי, יהודי, בחוויית צפייה שלא פגשתם. הצטרפו היום.
My Jewish identity was suppressed. Nobody at all knew that I was Jewish. To the extent that people questioned what my ethnicity was, for some reason they assumed I was Lebanese. I don't know why. It could be because of my nose. I have no idea. But my father, who had been in the army for a long, long time.
In the American Army?
In the American Army for a very long time, and did a lot of intelligence work for them, asked me not to go into intelligence at all, particularly naval intelligence.
What years did you serve in the intelligence?
It was from the late 70s to the late 80s. My father said if I wanted to be a naval architect, which I had hoped to be, he said that was fine. But he said if you get into intelligence, he said, especially in naval intelligence, he said you will eventually have a crisis in your own life between your loyalty to not so much the United States, but to your organization that you're working with, naval intelligence, and your identity as a Jew. Not even with regard to Israel, just your identity as a Jew. And he said, don't face that.
Why should it be a contradiction?
Because the Navy, I found, when I was active, to be one of the most anti-Semitic organizations I'd ever encountered.
What's the connection between intelligence and anti-Semitism?
Because the
people?
The people and the attitude towards Israel. It wasn't that the people were anti-Semitic because they hated, let's say, American Jews or just Jews in general. There was this very deep-seated hatred of Israel. And it reflected back or bounced back on American Jews or Jews in general. I'll give you an example if I can. When I went into the Naval Intelligence, we had an exam, more or less, where we had to pick or we were given, rather, events to analyze with all sources. So as luck would have it, I was given the Liberty Incident, and I groaned inwardly.
1967.
In 1967. So I was given access to all source intelligence, everything. And about 2 weeks later, I presented my conclusions. And my conclusion was that it was an accident, mistaken identity, everything that we know it was. And it was all there, proven, in the raw intelligence and in the, what we call the finished intelligence work that was done, all source. And I presented the reasons why. And the officer who was supervising this test looked at me and said, "Whose side are you on?" Mm-hmm. And I said, as an intelligence officer, I'm on the side of truth.
Wow.
No matter where it goes. And he said, "I'll keep my eye on you."
Wow.
That was my introduction.
Some 37, I think, people got killed in the Israeli
A little bit more than that. There was another incident where, as you know, the U.S. and Israel has an intelligence sharing agreement.
I was part of it.
Okay. I was placed as a Navy representative in the committee that met from time to time with Israelis and Americans. And it was horrible because it wasn't that I was told to prevent certain information from getting to Israel as part of the sharing agreement, quid pro quo agreement, but that I was actually told to lie about certain things. And when
You were told
directly to lie. And when I complained about this, all the way up the chain, so to speak, about one particular matter that was very important for Israel, the response I got on 2 occasions, the first response was, let them lose a few airplanes and they'll figure out how to jam whatever is threatening them. And I have family here, so they're talking about possibly one of my cousins being killed. And second of all, this matter of gas, poison gas. I was told point blank that, I was a young officer and I didn't understand that the Jews are very sensitive about gas. Not Israelis, Jews. And just don't worry about it. So it came to a head when there was a team, an Israeli team coming to the United States to ask about what was suspected to be a very large poison gas manufacturing facility in Iraq. And I was asked to do a parallel examination to see if what we were told officially by people like Caspar Weinberger and others in the Pentagon was consistent with the truth. So a week later, I was in a safe house in Washington. The Israeli team came and they told me point blank that they were told no such facility exists.
In Iraq?
In Iraq. And I said, you sure about that? You got the English right? And they said, yes, quite sure. I said, come. And we went into a room, a bedroom that was clear. And on the floor was a mosaic of very, very accurate pictures, not taken from the ground or in the atmosphere, of the plant that didn't exist. It was, at that time, the largest poison gas facility in the world. It eclipsed anything the Russians had, or Soviets at the time, what they had. And one of my Israeli colleagues, after looking at that picture, looked at me and said, Jonathan, it's sometimes better to deal with reliable enemies than unreliable allies. And there it was. So my father was right. And I reached the point where it wasn't just a conflict with my identity as a Jew. It was a conflict with my It was professional loyalty to the truth. Right. And one last thing, I had already, because of my experiences in Naval Intelligence, realized I didn't belong. Not just there, but I didn't belong in the United States anymore. There are some Jews who are destined to go home, and there are others, unfortunately, that either can't or won't go home. And I fell in that former group of a Jew that should have gone home.
Means here. And then happened what happened with the information which you were accused for bringing, and we'll not get into this because I believe you are not allowed to talk about this.
I do want to say one thing about that, though. There's been a lot of disinformation put out about what that information concerned. The information, this disinformation was put out both to undermine my character and the truth, but it was also disseminated to call into question the reliability of Israel as an ally. Because at the time, a Soviet mole by the name of Aldrich Ames in the CIA was decimating the CIA network in the Soviet Union. And it was Aldrich Ames that fingered me as the source of the information. And so everything that was subsequently attributed to him was initially attributed to me and Israel. I tell people, in conclusion, if you want to understand what I didn't do, look at my indictment. My indictment says two very important things. One, that I spied for a major non-NATO ally, Israel, without intent to harm the United States. This is very important. This is critical because, as you know, in intelligence work, there is some information which is so sensitive that it should never be shared with anybody outside of approved channels. And if it is, it could do incalculable damage to the national security. In that case, the criminal or the foreign agent should be indicted for intentional harm to the country, because he should have known that it would do damage. Well, I wasn't charged, so you can draw an inference that there was certain information, there was a cutoff. There was certain information past which, in terms of sensitivity, I didn't go. The information, in conclusion, that was involved in this affair was information that should have been shared with Israel, but had been withheld, not for intelligence reasons or for, let's just say, because of its sensitivity, but because of political reasons.
אקטואליה יהודית עולה קומה עם טוב פלוס, הפלוס שלכם, עבורכם, בזכותכם, לדעת יותר את האמת כולה, בערוץ עצמאי, לאומי, יהודי, בחוויית צפייה שלא פגשתם. ועכשיו, בטוב פלוס, המתפכחים, הסיפורים האישיים על המעבר מהשמאל לימין הפוליטי, המפורסמים שגילו את היהדות, על המחיר והרווח, על האמת והסוד, שהם לא ידעו שהם לא יודעים. הצטרפו היום.